Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Cioffi on this Friday night, April 4th, 2018, just a couple of minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. Welcome to my YouTube live stream, and tonight's YouTube live stream is brought to you by Ebates. You can sign up to Ebates and shop at your favorite stores and get cash back on what you buy. All the major stores are there, and you can find the link on the descriptor to this video. And we are looking at a fairly busy night of severe weather here across the Northeast as we have the storm prediction centers map up to my left. We've got the regional radar down on the bottom here, and of course I'm in the box right above it. And we just got a new severe thunderstorm watch, and you can see it in the area of blue that gets extended across northeastern Pennsylvania, into New York State, into the Hudson Valley, north of Route 84. So it's basically Dutchess, Ulster, Sullivan counties, Pike County in northeastern Pennsylvania, and all the counties in northern Pennsylvania from west to east. The radar is fairly busy here. So the question is this thunderstorm activity in this line that is developed, and it's fairly impressive. No question. There are some strong to severe thunderstorms embedded in this line. We've had numerous severe thunderstorm warnings already issued, and I'm just going to refresh this to make sure we got the latest one up there for you. And the question is whether the line is going to hold together as it moves eastward. There are signs to me, looking at this, that these thunderstorms have peaked in intensity and may start to decrease a bit as they move to the east. But meanwhile, in upstate New York, north of I-90, and it looks like these cells are going to go north of Albany into the Adirondacks, to Saratoga, on up to Lake George and points north. But you can see in the red here, there are some very strong thunderstorm cells here. And there is also a tornado watch that is up for parts of northeastern New York State as all of this moves along to the east. There is a lead line in southeastern and south central Pennsylvania of some showers. There are a couple of heavier downpours in the mix, but it's the line behind it that really is producing some of the bigger cells tonight. And again, it would seem, based on what some of the short range models are showing, including the NAM and the HRRR, that we may have seen the peak of this. I want to bring up the visible satellite view. Now that we have this new GOES satellite imagery, it's really cool because we can actually see you can see the layers of the clouds if you look very closely here. I'll just refresh it so make sure we got the latest frame up there. And the cloud tops here in western and west central Pennsylvania and western New York. The last picture actually is from just before 7 o'clock Eastern time. My area had clouds for a good part of the day. That kind of cut back on the daytime heating, although temperatures did spike late this afternoon across New Jersey into the middle and upper 80s and into the Hudson Valley as well. Long Island, no, because of the wind coming from the south off the water. So temperatures there actually topped in the upper 70s and have fallen into the 60s. So it would seem to me that the closer you get to the coast with this, these cells are going to encounter a bit of a marine influence, and their severity should lessen. So I'm on the idea here that this stuff is going to weaken in the next few hours. We'll bring up the HRRR, and we'll see what the new one has to offer us. This will just take me a second to load the map up. Everything at least seems to be working well tonight in terms of speed, and that's always a good thing. So here we are at this is at 8 o'clock tonight. This is actually the brand new HRRR. I'm just going to back it up to what the HRRR sees. Matches up fairly well with the current radar, but notice over the next few hours these storms completely fall apart. they just put that watch up, so I'm wondering whether they just got, they just got panicky here, unless they truly believe that these cells are going to hold together much longer than what models are showing. But by the time we get to 11 o'clock tonight, these cells are all gone. There's actually some new showers that fire up over parts of southern New Jersey here and just off the south shore of Long Island. I'll back that up just a bit, and you can see that's from that area that's down in south central and southeastern PA. That fires up a bit, but it certainly doesn't approach the severe levels of what we're seeing up in parts of central and western Pennsylvania and through upstate New York. But again, I'll bring up the NAM 3 kilometer, another one of the ultra short range models that we have, and we'll just back it up. I'll be curious to see how the NAM 3 handled this, because sometimes with these setups, you get one of these models that doesn't handle it quite well. This is its radar depiction, which I think winds up being quite a bit overdone, but at least it has it there. And this is at 8 o'clock tonight. And notice here too, this stuff just disappears. The northern part of the line becomes very, very narrow. So it's possible that you might have one strong, tiny cell in that mix. But really, on the whole, this stuff just kind of weakens after, going forward from here on. So I'm wondering again, did the Storm Prediction Center, are they looking at it, or what they see? Perhaps they're seeing some indications that this line may hold up longer than what models are indicating. All right, so why don't we just jump forward ahead, and in fact, before we do that, why don't I'll bring up the full U.S. radar, because we also do have some severe weather risk down on the southern end of this, which is down in Texas and parts of southern Texas. And you can see there's some heavy downpours and some embedded thunderstorms throughout much of eastern Texas and northeast Texas into northwest Louisiana, down into Arkansas, northeast into parts of western Tennessee and northeastern Arkansas. And then you've got that front to the north, of course, that's pretty evident here, coming in to the northeast. Tomorrow, they just ran, I didn't even watch the race. The Kentucky Oaks ran already, so I have no idea who won that, so don't tell me, because I'm going to go watch the race when this is all said and done. I want to show you the satellite view. We're going to bring up the Atlantic view here. And you can get this from the Hurricane Center. And really, the obvious standout is this disturbed weather that you see east of the Florida coast, east of the Bahamas, north of Cuba, and the Dominican Republic. This is a surface low that is interacting with an upper trough. We've been talking about this for the last several days. Conditions are unfavorable for development. The Hurricane Center actually sent out a special tropical weather outlook on this, which, they usually don't do this. But I guess they thought it warranted some attention, and they made the point to say that at least from mid-afternoon today, that it had a near zero chance of developing into a tropical depression or a tropical storm, and I agree with that. It's way too early. There have only been 22 storms and 4 hurricanes in the month of May since 1850. Granted, we've seen a few May storms in the last several years, but they've all pretty much occurred through the middle and latter part of the month and not in the very first few days. So I'm thinking this is not going to be an issue from that respect, but that moisture will probably come up the coast to some degree over the weekend, because we do have a little bit more work to do here in the eastern part of the United States to kind of transition out of this very warm, humid air mass that this very warm weather pattern, this hot weather pattern we've been in, and bring it back to something resembling normal. And we're going to do that work this weekend. I'll switch off to the NAM 12, and you can see the moisture that's often east of the Bahamas. It kind of has that sort of semicircular look to it, that arc look, but no real closed low circulation. The look is more, at best, you would say it's subtropical, and to me it really looks more non-tropical in nature. But what we're going to have is that moisture eventually kind of getting pulled up the east coast as then another front begins its approach here. For my area on Saturday, I think that's going to be the better of the 2 weekend days. And then we're going to have the front to the west dropping southeastward. Low pressure is going to kind of move its way up northeastward through the Appalachians, and you've got the moisture out in the Atlantic. You've got and a bit of a gap in between. I think we're going to probably see some rain around my neck of the woods on Sunday as a low develops to our south. And notice, by the way, as we move into next week, that's a fairly cold shot of air that comes into upstate New York. And yeah, those are snow showers that are being indicated for Monday for, I would say, elevated areas in central and northern New York. Maybe somebody in some elevation up at least above 2,000 feet or higher might wind up with a cheap thrill late season whitening of the ground. But overall next week, to me, the pattern looks rather benign. We'll pull up a wide view of the U.S. and start from the beginning, and I'm going to switch to the GFS model here. We'll start from the beginning tonight, and you can see the fronts in the east, the low that's in the Bahamas, the moisture along the Texas coast, and much of the west is fairly quiet, not too much happening there. A little bit of action coming into the northwest. Here's your system for Sunday on the GFS with some rain. It's probably a little bit more bullish in terms of the rain getting in here, but it's not a big rain producer. I'm expecting some dry periods in this. And you'll also notice you got high pressure up into south of James Bay in eastern Canada. So that's a fairly chilly shot of air that comes in. So it looks pretty dry to be. You're still going to have a stalled front of some kind off the southeast coast. So there may be another low that comes out of that later next week. But it looks like now it's going to stay offshore. A little bit of action coming into the northwest. And, you know, as we move through the latter part of the week, some strong thunderstorm activity likely to pop up again in the central plains. I don't see the hot weather returning to my neck of the woods anytime soon. We'll probably see a good chunk of this week with seasonal weather conditions. And let these numbers roll out. And we can watch the trough, you know, in the east, a bit of troughing in the east that lifts up. No blocking whatsoever. In fact, you have probably the North Atlantic Oscillation in a strongly positive position, very strongly positive position through much of the forecast period. So weather systems are going to generally move along, which means it can't get hot for too long, and we'll get shots of cool air in between warm-ups, and the warm-ups will probably be relatively brief in nature. And then late in the period on this run, as we get into the middle part of the month, looks like a significant trough develops on this run of the GFS. Now, whether that's real or not remains to be seen. There's always a lot of differences, of course, as we know, as we get into the long range. But certainly I think next week is probably going to be a fairly good weather week for much of my area anyway. And that's a good thing. And with temperatures, if they wind up being close to normal, except for maybe on Monday, that is also a very good thing. So a big hello to everybody that's on board tonight. Weather Hub TV, tropical storm gusts possible in Florida. Well, look, you know, it might get a little breezy along the East Coast, but that really has more to do with the fact that you're going to have a bit of a pressure gradient there with a little weak low center to the east. I wouldn't get too worked up about, you know, anything too outrageous as far as any wind gusts are concerned. I don't think you would notice too much of the difference between that and on a given day in the late spring or summertime. Timothy Veltman's got his eye on the storms north of I-90, as does Raymond Gouldbolt. I've never been able to nail your last name, so I hope I got it close, Raymond. SPC said it's a high shear, low SB Cape squall line. Yes, they did say that. Yeah, they're the very strong winds being shown on a lot of the soundings in parts of western and upstate New York. Thinking that, you know, gusts of 60 or 70 miles an hour could certainly mix down to the surface when these thunderstorms go by. They talked about that quite a bit in their discussion today. Israel DeFruger, yeah, the clouds kept your temperatures down, and then the sunshine did break out in central New Jersey and in southern New Jersey, and temperatures climbed well up into the 80s there, and that also eventually spread up into North Jersey. Matthew Warman, any severe weather in the southern part of Connecticut tonight? No, I think the new watch they put up covers the northwestern part of the state. But again, I find it hard to believe that the stuff is not going to weaken, since all the models seem to show that. Maybe they hold up together a bit longer, but I still think that by the time they would get to your area, they should be in a much weaker state. At least that's the way I'm seeing it at this point. All right, folks. I just put up, by the way, we did a Joe and Joe show. Our schedules were a little weird this week. We're both working on special projects, so that's one of the reasons why my live stream schedule on YouTube was a bit different for a Wednesday and Thursday. And Joe's schedule tonight was a bit different too. So we did a Joe and Joe show tonight on Facebook at 6 o'clock, which I have now uploaded to YouTube. So you can go ahead and watch it. It's already in the YouTube library. Just remember that this was done an hour ago. We recorded it at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. So since then, there's been an additional severe thunderstorm watch. It's one of the disadvantages when we do these live streams. Of course, just please recognize that if you are watching this at a later time, this was live streamed beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, May 4th. So you're not watching this at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning thinking that this is, just happened. Just so we're clear on that. And Israel, could some showers or an isolated thunderstorm at risk for you? I think the risk is there. I'm not too bullish on these storms holding together as they move east. Why does it always seem that a prefrontal trough fires up ahead of the main line and it zaps all the potential energy from the storms to feed on? Yeah, that does happen. Not all the time, but sometimes it does, particularly in an instance like this where you had one system go by yesterday, and you've got a couple of little short waves running around. It doesn't take much. There was almost a bit of a warm front that had to develop and work through today to get you back into the warm sector again ahead of the next low. And when you have situations like that, that's what winds up happening. The prefrontal trough that develops basically zaps not only does it zap all the moisture out of the air and all the energy out of the air, but oftentimes it actually cools the area, so that when the real front energy arrives, it has so much less to work on that you wind up with very little. And that's always a factor in terms of how you're trying to figure out the forecast. So anyway, thanks everybody for being here. Of course, we'll try to do some live streams over the weekend, schedule permitting. Thank you for those of you who are new to my YouTube channel. Thank you for being here, and hopefully you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. We do these live streams at least once a day, every day. Plus, I try to upload the Joe and Joe show. And once again, new sponsor tonight is Ebates. We are a participant in the Ebates referral program, which is an affiliate advertising program, and it helps us earn fees by referring members. So if you'd like, the link is on the descriptor on my video. You feel no obligation to do so. You can get cash back and big discounts by shopping on Ebates at some of your favorite stores, including Amazon, by the way. Okay, have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. We will see you tomorrow at some point.